Today we're going to learn how to use the ratio timer at Picturebuild. The first thing you're going to need to do is ask for access with the owner. The owner should be able to give you access. It's located on the bottom right hand corner of their application. It will say more, and after more, it will say shared access. Once they give you access, make sure it's full and complete access. Otherwise, you're not able to program any of the stations. You're going to use Rachio at picturebuild.com. After you log in, you're going to see a list of timers. From this list, we're going to use a project that was recently completed, Amy Wang in Pasadena. As soon as you log into the timer, you're going to see a variety of information, mainly like the weather, how long has it been on, if there's any time saved for waterings. But on a new install, you won't see that. You're going to have to go to irrigation. And the first thing you're going to have to do is label which zones are what. For them, zone number 1 on the timer is patio plugs. Zone number 2 is retaining wall, and etc. So let's just say for patio plugs, right? You would actually have to click up here where it says edit in order to change the name. I'll say name patio plugs. If you didn't want patio plugs and it was just say planter or north planter, you could just change it to that, but for now we're just going to leave it as patio plugs. You can take a photo, right? You can ask to take a photo here, or you can take a pre-existing photo. You can go back. You can see the other zones are doing roughly the same thing. You can see what's going on. Afterwards, you're going to have to go to schedules. Here, you're going to have to click on this bottom area where it says create schedule. Amy Wang has a lot of sod. So once you go here, we're going to make a program just for sod. We're going to have to go to fixed and not flex monthly or flex daily. We have to go to fixed. If it's any of the other ones, it actually changes the watering time. So we don't know exactly how much water is going where. We want to keep it at fixed always for new sod in particular. Here is going to say what zones you're going to want to include into the schedule. Since we're only going to make this a grass zone, we're going to remove anything else that's not grass. Patio plugs are located within grass, so this is going to be on the cool season grass area, but the rest of this has to get removed. In order to remove it, you just click away from the check mark here, and they're no longer highlighted. You would click next. We're going to name the schedule either new grass or grass 1, as long as you remember that it's just grass and it's the first schedule. You can just put new or grass 1, as long as you know that is the first one. It's going to ask you, when would you like to water? Even though we're going to water every day, do not select daily interval. The reason why is in the future, when the homeowner needs to cut back on watering or we need to cut back on watering, you're not able to do so unless you redo the entire programming for this particular schedule. So for here, always click specific days, even though we're going to have them turn on every day. You're going to select, every day like we discussed before, even though it's much quicker just to click daily interval. Make sure you do this because this will allow you to cut back on time in the future. It's going to ask when you want to run the schedule. Since sod in particular has specific watering times that it needs, we're going to have start a specific time. This timer was going to pop up. You're going to select 7, or if this is the second watering time, 11 if it's the third. You're going to select 2:30, and then if you notice it says AM right here, we're going to have to select PM if it's the third watering time. But since it's the first, we're going to put 7 AM. We're going to select done. If you select start after sunset, it's going to start after sunset, obviously, or if end before a specific time, it's going to wait till a random time in the day to turn on. What we want is consistency, just to know how much water it's getting. If we select anything else, it's pretty much a crapshoot. So we want to know exactly how much water it's getting. So let's just say you program the timer and you guys haven't placed the sod yet, but you have plants in, and you still need to schedule the sod timings or to program the sod. You can select a later date to start this programming. So if you're planting today and you need to make a grass schedule for tomorrow because that's when grass is coming in, or let's say Thursday or Wednesday, you can just select Wednesday, and this following programming that we're setting will save to start on Wednesday. But for now, since the typical is you program everything once everything is in place, plants or sod, we're going to select today only. Here's going to ask if you like the smart cycle. All it is, it cuts on a zone for a specific amount of time so that it reduces runoff. For sod, we're not going to do that. So for here, we're going to select no cycle soak. Um, this is actually a really good feature for the Rachio timers. Based on season, will adjust your timings for you. Um, it can, if it's detects that there's a lot of water within the sod, or if it thinks there's too much water in the sod, it would actually skip a watering time. One skip if it's a really windy day, sprinklers don't do too well in the wind. It'll skip a watering time. Free skip, we don't have to worry too much about in Los Angeles, but you can just select that one to be off. Rain skip, all this is if it's going to rain that day, it will skip um, the watering time for that day. But if it's only going to rain a little bit, the watering time will still continue to go on. It has to rain or predict that it's going to rain a specific amount in order for it to cut off, or a sufficient amount in order for it to cut off. But for us and our new install, we're going to remove free skip, wind skip, saturation skip, and seasonal shift, just because we want to make sure that it's getting water. Anything else, it can skip it. Um, the only time we want it to skip is if it's raining, so we don't waste any water. So here is going to say, how long do you want this to water for? Um, the front yard grass is on for 7 minutes. We actually don't need that much water. Typically for new installs, no more than 5 minutes is needed per watering time, just because you just want enough water to penetrate the soil and the sod in order for the roots to start to branch out. So we're going to select everything to go to 5 minutes, and then we can go to the next zone, the next area. Now the schedule is created, and we'll see here that it says grass 1. So now, in order for it to be to have the proper watering times, we have to make another schedule for the grass. Do the same things that we did before. Remove all of these because we only want the grass zones. This one will be grass 2. We're going to do this one on specific days, like mentioned before, but every day. We're going to start at a specific time, but this one at 11 a.m. Start date, of course, is going to be today, but no cycle soak because it's what we want to make sure it gets the right amount of water. And then here, we're going to remove this to go to 5 minutes every zone. Now the second schedule is created. And then we're going to make one more for sod. We're going to remove the shrubs again. Grass 3. Do specific days. Make sure you select all the days. Start at specific time, 2:30, and make sure you swipe to a PM here. Start date is going to be today. Just repeat the same process that you did before. Remove all of these. And make everything consistent. 5-minute watering times is more than enough. But this is in the winter time. Let's just say if it was in the summer, typically from May to about late September, it's typically really hot and the days are still long. So we would add a 4th watering time. So for this one, we would put fixed Remove all these. Do the same thing that we did before for the other ones. Grass 4. Specific days. Select all the days that you need. Start at specific time. And the final watering time is going to be at 5:30 p.m. This is because the days are typically a lot longer in the summer. So if our final watering time was at 2:30 p.m., there's typically about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 hours of sunlight that can potentially dry out the grass and make dead seams. And it's typically better to have that fourth watering time just to keep the grass moist throughout the night. So 5:30 p.m. is good. Start date is today. No cycle soak, and do the same things we did for the other programmings. 5 minutes, and that is it. So now we programmed all the new grass, and we would need to do garden, like the remainder of the garden. So planters, or if it was some ground covers here and there, you would make the same process. You would go to create schedule. We still want fixed only, but this time we're going to remove all the grasses, right? So now we have shrubs and gardens here. So we're going to leave these 4 on together. We're going to call this one new plants. We're going to water, even though it's starting to cool down today in October, only going to water every day just for the first week. So we can cut it back the following week to every other day or 3 times a week. But we're still going to select every day for now to make sure everything's getting watered. We're going to start at a specific time. But since we started the grass at 7 a.m., it's 4 zones of grass at 5 minutes apiece. This one can either be at 8 a.m., right? 9 a.m. But as long as it's after 7 or even before 7, uh, that would be okay. But for now, we're going to put 7:30 a.m. just so it cuts on right after the grass finishes. Start date is today because you guys just finished installing. We're going to put no cycle soak because we want to be consistent. We want to make sure all the water is getting put in. For here, we're going to leave on rain skip. We're going to leave freeze skip, wind skip, take all of these off. And the watering times here is going to say calculating optimal watering times. For this specific one, in the winter, 10 minutes is typically fine. One 10-minute time or one 12-minute time, depending on the soil. So for now, we're going to put a 12-minute watering time. We're going to put next, and the schedule is created. So now you can go to the home screen. You can select this, and you'll see the zones that are going to be scheduled to go on. If you go to irrigation and the calendar, it'll tell you what days everything's going to water and what zones you have right now. So that's typically how you would program a Rachio